Good morning, YouTube. Well, today we're going to be doing the 700-hour review of my AI power generators. And getting to 700 hours, I am going to have to do some kind of invasive maintenance. So what we're going to be doing today is we need to adjust our rocker arm valve lash, or rocker arm clearance, or whatever you want to call it. In the limited manual these things come with, I don't recall seeing anything about it, like an hour specification when you're supposed to do it. But to me, I know what it sounds like when your rocker arms are out of spec, and I can hear the slop. So I'm like, all right, it's time to do something about this, because it's not good. You don't want your rocker arms slapping around in there. So what we're going to have to do is we need to take the back cover off. The front cover, we'll just extend the handle so it can slide out a little bit. Then we've got 3 screws in the bottom, one here, one here, one here. There's a screw here. When you take these side covers off, you'll find a screw up here at the top. 4 screws in the handle. You take the gas cap off. You unfortunately have to pop the rubber off, which is a little bit of a pain in the butt to put back on, because this side cover kind of has to turn up and rock this way, because the way that the case is built, it's almost like a kind of like a fork. It goes around that rear axle. Now, I suppose if you wanted to take the extra time to take the rear axle off, you know, I'm not really sure what you would be saving by doing that, so I'm not going to do that. But you got to take all that off to be able to get this valve cover off. So that's what we're going to be doing. And also, I think I'm going to try something that, you know, the book says, well, and people online also say, well, clean your spark plug, you know, inspect it every 100 hours. That's what I do with the oil change. And these plugs have 300 hours on them now. And I'm not going to change it. I know that it said, people say, and it says online to change it every 200 hours, but I just can't see any reason for doing that. There's no damage to the spark plug. These machines, I run good quality fuel in them, and you can see that reflects on the plug and everything else. There's no soot buildup. You know, I run 30 weight oil in it. The problem I find with 10W30, and you can see this, here's what you do. These engines that are in this generator and the Predator engine or generators, if they look like this, valve cover up here, carburetor here, this style airbox, what this is a clone of a Yamaha MZ80 engine. So just go online and download you a service manual for a Yamaha MZ80 engine. And it says in there, now, you know, pretty confident that it says above 60 degrees, they want you to be running 20 weight from 60 to 80 degrees. Anything above 80 degrees, they want you running 30 weight oil. Anything below 60 degrees, they want you running 10W30. But overall, they would prefer you to run 10W40 Yamalube, but I'm not doing that. You guys seen in my previous video, the 400-hour review, the engine oil I use. It's a 30 weight diesel oil. You know, you buy that at Walmart. That's what I've been running in this thing for its whole life. It doesn't burn any oil. I can check this oil, and actually I'm going to increase my oil change intervals too, because I change the oil every 100 hours. And this oil has 100 hours on it, and I want you to see how clean this oil is for having 100 hours on it. But look at that. Still got a nice caramel color. It's not dark, not black, you know. And it's got some nice, good looking viscosity to it still, you know. So I'm at 700 hours. I'm gonna increase my service intervals to 200 hours at this point, because I feel like I'm wasting oil actually changing it every 100 hours. You know, but that's just me. You know, I run these generators. I put 300 hours on these things in 13 days. So that would be like the equivalent of highway mileage. Now, maybe if I only use these generators for, you know, 20 hours here, 50 hours there, or whatever, maybe the situation might be different. You know, I know the book says start these things up every few weeks, every 3 weeks or so, and exercise them, you know, to keep the fuel from going stale and everything. But I don't store these things with fuel. I change the oil, clean the air filter, service the spark plug, then I completely drain the fuel system. I use my air nozzle, completely blow dry the tank. I leave the vent open, and I store these things for 6 months. And when I go to use them again, all I literally have to do is just pour gas in it and fire it up. It fires up, and you probably about the second pull. But anyways, so that's my preferences. I'm going to go ahead and run this spark plug through my spark plug cleaner, because like I said, for 300 hours, come on phone, 300 hours, man, there's no real electrode wear. You know, there's just the tiniest amount of buildup. And I just can't see throwing away just this plug for no reason. I just can't see doing it. Like I said, you saw when I opened the cap, it's still as full as it was when I put oil in it 100 hours ago. Running the 30 weight, the oil does not thin out enough to burn. That's why I run it. So, let me go ahead and get these covers off, and then we'll continue on with the valve lash adjustment. So I just wanted to show you guys, even though I run ethanol-free fuel, even though I have the strainer in the tank and the cap, there's another strainer in the tank, there's another fuel filter that I've added, and you know, it was so hot and muggy. Look, that's a drop of water. I did have some idling issues, and this was running a little bit crummy. And I've drained the fuel bowl using the screw right here. But as you can see, that never got rid of this one little drop of water. And that one little drop of water is all it takes to make your machine run like crap. So, just wanted to show you guys that. I thought it was interesting. Alright, another little comparison right here. So, can you tell the difference between which plug is brand spanking new and which one isn't? Well, the one on the left is the plug I took out that has 300 hours on it. Now, I did run it through my spark plug cleaner, but again, I don't see any reason to change it, throw it away. So I'm not going to, unless it starts, you know, obviously running bad, or you know, misfiring or something like that. But I just can't see any reason to throw it away. And this is why these tank screens are so important. Look at all that garbage. Now, I keep my gas tanks clean, and you know, I don't know, I can't explain how this dirt buildup gets in there. It comes from the pumps. I don't care what anybody says about, oh, there's, you know, filters and whatnot in there. Doesn't matter. Look at all this crap. I mean, I'd probably say each machine probably went through 20 gallons of fuel each, maybe. I don't know, I'd have to do the math. I got the receipts. But anyways, out of 20 gallons of fuel, that's how much trash was in there. And anybody who owns a diesel can verify that, because every time you change your fuel filter on a diesel, if you've ever opened one up, look how much garbage is in there. And tell me where that garbage comes from, because you only fill up at the pumps. Alright, so let's take these covers off and get to adjusting these valves. Now, I do need to mention that you need to make sure the engine is cold when doing this, okay? This needs to be done on a cold engine. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Phillips head screws there. And the same on this side, all the way around. This one, I just take the handle, pull it out, and that's good enough. So let's get these off. Alright, so at this point, I just let the front cover hang like that. There's no real need to unplug all that stuff. You got a Phillips head screw here. You got a Phillips head screw here. Then you got a Phillips head screw here. And then there's 3 screws on the bottom, which are Allen heads, but I'm lazy and they're not that tight. So I just use a T40 Torx to get those out. You're gonna have to take the gas cap off. You can try to slide it up off of the gas tank with the rubber still on there, but on the other one that I did, it popped off anyway. Then you also got 4 screws and the handle you gotta take out. So let's get that out. Alright, so I tried a little different this time. I was picking up with this hand and pushing down on the gas tank with the other hand. Managed to make it pop out without popping the rubber out. One thing to keep in mind when going back together, the tank has a little, mount here that locks into this square here. So you're going to have to deal with that. It also has another one right here. You can see the rubber stayed there, but it actually goes on right there. Has another locking point right here. Okay. So now you see how I got it cocked like this? It's because it's got to slide over this wheel here. So you rock it back, there you go. You don't have to take the wheel off. So, now that we got that off, we got to get to this. We're going to have to pull the spark plug out. So what I do is I kind of just pick this up because it's all loose. There's tabs over here that the gas tank locks into. Okay, and I'm just going to slide this tank forward. Let's put this cap back on because there's gas in there. But I'm just going to slide this tank forward enough to get here, and I'll be back. Alright, so that's easy enough to do. You just have to keep in mind there's a tab back there, another tab up front, just like on this side, that you have to lock it back into. So, at this point, we can go ahead and pull our PCV hose off and walk it back and forth. Now, on these spark plug boots, these things are hard plastic and they will break. So I pull them straight up, nothing else. So let me go ahead and get this spark plug out of the, well, yeah, we need to take the spark plug out so we can get to top dead center. So let me go ahead and get that pulled out, and then I'll show you the rest. Again, 300-hour spark plug, clean as a whistle. Come on, camera. Yep, I'm just going to throw that in the old spark plug cleaner, freshen it up, and use it again. Alright, so now that we got that spark plug out, we got 4 8mm bolts. Go ahead and take those out. You got this little clip right here. You need to pop this clip up out of here. What I just get underneath it with this little pick tool. Just kind of work it around. It'll give up eventually. It doesn't want to. Oh, there you go. So there you go. Take that out, and let's get these 4 bolts out. Alright, now that we got those 4 bolts out, what you have to do is you have to move the muffler case a little bit over, because this plastic is actually part of the valve cover. It's it's on there. So we just got it to pop loose. Plus it's harder to do one-handed. And well, the other generator wouldn't let me do that. So that's easier. Well, me and you learned something together. Yeah, the other one wouldn't let this come out. So if yours won't let it come out, then you're gonna have to pull this plastic shroud off, which isn't that hard to do. Like I said, you pull it up like this, and you wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle back there, and it's almost out. There you go. See? Not that much harder to do. Now, in order to do the valve lash adjustment, you have to be top dead center on the compression stroke. You have a compression stroke and you have an exhaust stroke. You can't make these adjustments on the exhaust stroke. So you might say, well, how do you know if you're on the compression stroke? Well, the compression stroke happens right after the intake valve closes. So we know this is the intake valve because carburetor's over here. Now this is exhaust valve, exhaust over here. So let's slowly pull the rope, plus we can see down in the cylinder. Okay, you see that? The exhaust valve just closed. So now next, the intake valve opens. Just slow. Okay, just closed. Piston's down at the bottom. Alright, now it's coming up. Alright, now we're at top dead center. As you can see, we have movement. So we need to check this to see if it is good or bad. Now the book says both intake and exhaust should be between 2 and 4 thousandths. Now on that unit over there, it was way out. It was at 200ths. Forget 2 thousandths. It was at 200ths. So we had a lot to put in there. So now that we got it on the right stroke, top dead center, got our 4 thousandths feeler gauge. We're going to see if that fits underneath there. Alright. And it does. And it's pretty smooth. It's pretty... Oh yeah, that just... So now we have some slack. It's nowhere near as bad as that one was. But it's not tight. So what I'm going to do is I got my 2 thousandths feeler gauge poking out here as well. Okay. Now I'm going to put it in here and I'm going to set it to 2 thousandths, and then by the time I tighten it, it'll probably be 2.5 thousandths to 3 thousandths, but the 4 thousandths feeler gauge won't fit in there. So what I used on the last one was 5/16 wrench here. Okay. Now this is a square drive right here. This takes a 3mm wrench. Now this wrench is actually a Honda tool for adjusting valve lash on small Honda engines. So I wanted to share that with you. You can probably go on eBay and find a wrench if you don't have one, because I didn't. But here's the part number for this wrench. Okay. So that's the part number. That'll get you this wrench, which is made for adjusting the valve lash. And you can see it fits perfect on there. So what we're going to do, let me get it set up and we'll come back. Alright, so what I did was I cracked this loose a 1/4 turn. You can see I got the feeler gauge in between there, the 2 thousandths feeler gauge. Now I've already turned this a whole 1/4 turn, and we still are loosey-goosey in there. So let's turn it another 1/4 turn. Now I feel it resistance there. Let's back up a little bit. That feels okay. I want just a little tiny bit more. Not much. These are You don't have to go crazy. Oh, that's too tight. You see that? Too tight, so I gotta back it off just a hair. Okay, right there. Not much. Alright, so now that I got it good, what I'm going to do, I obviously have to have two hands here. We're going to put the wrench back on here. Okay. And obviously you get the point. We're going to hold this one after I get the wrench on. We're going to hold this exactly where we got it. And we're going to tighten this back up. Now this doesn't, you know, you have to get these pretty snug. I don't have the torque spec, but it doesn't matter if I had the torque spec anyway. I don't have the proper tooling to be able to hook essentially a crow's foot to a torque wrench. So, but anyways, you need to get these tight, but not Superman tight. You know, these aren't super big fasteners. So let me tighten this up. We'll be back. All right, so we got it tightened up. Still got good amount of drag, I feel. So that's 2000s. Alright, let's see if our 4000s will fit underneath there. Because remember, the spec says between 2 to 4000s, okay? Alright, look at that. It will not. It will not fit. So now I know that my intake valve is within specs. 2000s feeler gauge goes in there just fine. A slight little bit of drag, which is what you want. But the 4000s gauge, which is, according to specification, as big as the tolerance will allow, will not fit in there. So we're good to go. So that's it. That's what I wanted to show you. This is after 700 hours. I'm not really sure why. This one was pretty close to within spec, but it wasn't. But that one was way off. You could hear that one. You could hear the tapping. Can't even do it on this one because it's so close. But you could hear the tapping, letting me know it was way off. But this was at 700 hours. You know, like I said, I'll try to take another look. But all I can tell you is go download, and this doesn't even apply to just this generator. If you have this setup, you have a Yamaha clone engine. So you can go download the manual, the service manual for Yamaha MZ80 engine, and you got all the specs right there. Tell you all your torque specs. It's got everything. It even tells you how to troubleshoot the electronic inverter. Tells you how to troubleshoot the, you know, alternator head. Everything. Clean the carburetor, everything. So I highly suggest you go download you a copy. But yeah, eventually you need to check your valve lash adjustment. So that's what I wanted to bring to you. 700 hour update. Still running great, running beautiful. The only thing I'm doing now is checking the valve lash adjustment, something I haven't done. So I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know. Here's one final shot of the twins idling away, ready to be put away for storage. 704. So there you go. Hope y'all enjoyed this 700 hour update.